Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today I've got up this Road Kings. Pretty cool game. It's one I really like. I think I like this more than most people based on what they go for. I think it's a great game. And it's a fairly cheap System 11 game by Williams. Anyway, let me turn it on and show you what it's how it's presenting itself. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Check switch EOS 23. And then it's trying to reset that ramp, but it can't. Haven't looked up the manual yet to see what EOS 23 is. I was initially thinking it was one of the flipper switches, but I'm not positive. But what I have figured out is this thing won't go down. It's a physical, so let me show you. Okay, so I'm under the play field. I'm about to boot this thing up, and this little coil right there, that piece there goes down like that, and that's supposed to release it from the top. I'll turn the game on. See, it's trying to release that coil. If I come up here, just jam it, well, it stopped releasing. Let me do it again. It only tries like 7 or 8 times. It goes down. And really, the problem, I believe, is it's just that bolt there is rubbing on that plastic. I don't know if that's the factory bolt, but it's definitely hitting that plastic really badly. Also hear that squeak. I guess that's just rubbing the metal on there, so there's nothing much to do about that. Maybe this guide could be moved out a little bit, but that's really not the issue. The issue is this arm here is on that plastic. So first thing I am going to do, I'm going to remove this plastic and see if that fixes the problem. Okay, so I got that plastic off. I went ahead and raised this thing up. I'm going to boot it up and see if it resets. So you saw it clicked 3 times to reset it. Start a game, see if it'll start a game.
Banding will be powered.
Yeah, it took 3 or 4 times. So it's still sticky, but it is better. It will go down. Let's try and kick the ball out here. So it's trying, it's just not quite getting it. So this is still sticky. I have to check that out. So part of it was the plastic, but it's still got an issue. It's probably WD-40 or something. And this one, well, let me prop this up a look. So this is the plunger for the ball kick out, and yeah. See how it like takes forever to come back? It's really, if you look in there close, it's all greasy. Yeah. So it could be that pivot point there. Just a real quick way to figure out which one it is. I'm gonna spray some alcohol. It's not a permanent fix, but it's a quick fix. So you see this, because these 2 plates have a spring between them. You can move one and not the other. But still, this is still, so there's friction here too. I'm gonna spray this one. Now it's kicking balls out when I did that. So there's friction here and friction here. The solution is take this whole thing, put it in the ultrasonic, and get rid of all that dirt and grease and everything else, and clean that up and put a new sleeve in there, and it should work fine. Potentially put a drop of oil on this pivot point right up here. Maybe not, but that's going to come off and go in the ultrasonic, and that'll work like a charm afterwards. So here's what this thing looked like, and it's just, yeah, if I just rub it on my finger there, you see I'm sure somebody didn't put grease on there. They probably oiled it or WD-40, but you never oil or grease anything that goes in the sleeve, coil sleeve. Potentially something like this, where it's metal on metal. use some light oil, but usually you don't. Because what happens, even if you use the right oil, after time it'll get dirty and the oil will thicken up over time and it'll potentially look like this. Although this is probably somebody sprayed WD-40 in here just like they did in here. That's probably not 3-in-1 oil, it's probably something else. So anyway, this will all be fine after a few minutes on the ultrasonic. If you want to see something really ugly, that is an ugly coil sleeve. That's not dirt, that's, well, there's some dirt. It's lubricant, which is just turned into a tacky, it's like a tar-like tackiness. It's awful. Into the trash. So here's what it looked like coming out of the ultrasonic. I mean, looks pretty good. So threw a new coil sleeve in there. I'm gonna throw it back in there together and we'll get this going, and then we'll look at this solenoid that raises and lowers that ramp. So I got this all put back together, and even without a ball in there, you can tell it's way better. So that's gonna work. I'm gonna tip the thing up and throw a ball in there and see, just ensure to myself that it's working okay, and then we'll work on this other one. So I got the game booted up. I'm gonna start a game.
Bandit will be ours.
Perfect. So let's just for fun. I forget what you got to do to qualify the that left ramp. Oh, here we go. There's lock. Okay, we got one locked. Okay, that went up. Throw another one in there. Oh. Oh, it says locked. I need to shoot it from the other side. There we go.
The road game.
Hey, it went back down. You know, honestly, now that the plastic is just a little exercise might get that thing working a little bit better. Time lock. I forget how this time lock. Oh, then you got to shoot up there. There, that's what it is. I got the time lock. Yes. Shoot it back up underneath there. Shoot a little harder. Well, yeah. Oh, there goes a little sticker. Oh, I see. These stickers are just coming off. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm too crazy about those stickers. The red kind of looks better. So, I'm going to go through the solenoid test and check out that ramp, see what it's doing now. So, display, sound, lamps, coil. There's a ramp up. I think we went through the ramp down and it didn't go. Yeah, we must have, because we're back down to like 7, 8, 9. I didn't see it. I wasn't paying enough attention. Ramp up was 13, ramp down is like 15. So the ramp down is not working reliably. So yeah, let's, I guess, disassemble that and probably do the same thing. See what's holding it up. So this is the one that spring is basically the only thing that pushes it up. So I'm gonna on the back here, I'm gonna press this one, that releases it, and you can watch it as it opens up. It's pretty sluggish. And this is with the table up. So when the table's down, it's got to go. That I think it actually makes it a little bit harder because it's have to push that uphill. Although the ramp is coming down. Anyway, I'm gonna take. It doesn't look all that greasy like that other one was, but it could be that pivot point there in the back where the end of my fingertip is. It could be that's is the point of the friction. You can hear that grinding. So part of it is the ramp itself rubbing right there. But really, when it's up, it's not touching. So that only happens, and it's stuck in the up position. So that's not the problem. The problem is it not having enough to just push down. So, you know, I'm almost inclined to just wait. I think I'm probably end up tearing this whole game apart and take this whole ramp apart. It'll be easier to deal with that then. Maybe I'll go ahead and do it. Might as well. So I pulled this thing off, just 4 little screws, and the shaft of this, it's a little tacky, but that's not the main source of the friction. This whole thing is still pretty stiff. I'm thinking maybe it's that pivot point right there. So just to kind of check, I am going to just spray some alcohol on there. And if it gets a lot better, then I'll know that is indeed the problem point. And because there's not that much else left. So let me get the bottle and I'll spray it real quick. So I sprayed that pivot point there, and it's definitely better, but still not great. You can hear it grinding above, but there's one more place where it's rubbing, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do about this one. So when this is up, that bar rubs inside that groove there. It's just that, essentially that bolt. I'm almost wondering if that's the stock bolt, because remember this thing, that threaded part came out too far and was hitting that piece of plastic. I'm wondering if that's not the right piece, because it's sticking out too far here. We've got a lot of friction there. It may or may not be the proper little shaft that goes in there. It's definitely got a lot of friction right there. When I strip down this game, that'll be the time to do this. I'm gonna fix the bottom one now, probably take it off and stick it in the ultrasonic, and I'll get this when I strip down the top side. So that's what that shaft looks like. It's actually pretty nasty, nastier than it felt like. And there's the female part. It's black and gunky. Pull this out, it's kind of a pain, so I'm going to clean this in place. Both of these, get some alcohol and a wire brush on that one, alcohol and Q-tips on that one, get them nice and clean, and then reassemble this down below. All right, so I got these things cleaned up. They look a lot better. There's a Q-tips from cleaning that from first run, second run, third run. They get cleaner and cleaner. Kind of like cleaning your ears, you know, when they come out clean, you know you're about done. So anyway, I'm gonna put this together. Of course, you start digging around, you find stuff like this. Probably need some attention. I'm wondering if that's even right. The green and black tied to a brown, who knows? For now, I'm just gonna redo that the way it is. Just put some heat shrink. Let's go ahead and undo this. It's always ugly underneath the electrical tape, almost always. Well, it is soldered at least. Okay, so that wasn't so bad, but just hate the electrical tape. It just turns into a gooey mess after a while.
So I'll unsolder that and resolder it with some heat shrink. It'll look a little bit nicer and it won't turn into a gooey mess over time. So I'm gonna put this back together and we'll keep moving forward. So I got this all buttoned up back down here, resoldered that with a little heat shrink. And I went ahead and took this little piece off the top. I wanted to make sure that's clean, and I wanted to adjust that nut so it didn't, the threaded section, so it doesn't extend out so far and hit the plastic. But while I've got this here, you know, you can, you see how easy it moves now. It's not connected at the top, so, but anyway, I'm positive there's no significant friction down here on the bottom. So if it doesn't work when I put it back together, I'll know that this last little piece. So this bolts into that, and then it fits in that little slot there. And I just cleaned that slot with a Q-tip and alcohol. It was pretty gross. Somebody had greased it, so that was another source. So this was one, I think, where it was just a death from 1,000 cuts. This, you know, there was friction on this piece here sliding in there. There was friction down below, and the main source of it was that threaded end was sticking out and hitting that plastic that I already took off. Remember, that plastic was sitting like that, and it was hitting that plastic, and it wouldn't move. It wouldn't hardly go past at all until I took the plastic off, and then it would hit 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times before it would go down. So I believe if I put this thing back on there, I think it's going to work. And I'm going to put that washer such that it keeps it as far towards the ramp as possible. So I got it put together, and it's even worse now. But what I realize is that shaft there is rubbing on this edge right here. When it comes up, there's a lot of, that's where the pressure is at. So what I'm going to do is loosen that nut, and it's in a little C slot, and so it's sitting all the way in the bottom as it is now, but that's an adjustable point, so you can slide that up towards the camera and then re-tighten it up, you know, 1/8 an inch or so, and that'll get it so it's centered in this slot here. So just fine tuning so that is not rubbing. That could have been the main problem the whole time. I just didn't see it. Okay, so I adjusted that up just a little bit, and now it's pretty much in the center. And let me raise this up. Well, there you go. Just I'll stick it all the way up, and it operates real easily now. You can still hear the metal, but there's literally that metal shaft is wiping across that ramp, so it's going to be, it's metal on metal, and they're touching. So, but it's moving easily. So I think, kind of going back on this, I looked at my video. So I moved that washer to the inside, which pulls this whole thing in. Probably somebody was messing with this because they were having problems, and they got the washer on the other side, and that's why that thing was sticking out and hitting the plastic. So somebody was trying to adjust it, and they didn't get it. They got it in a situation that was maybe worse than it was. I don't know. It wasn't working, and it could have been a lot of things because there was quite a bit of gunk underneath that was also contributing to it not working right. So anyway, it's working now, so we can move on to, well, before we do anything else, let's boot it up. Actually, let me do one more thing. Let's raise it up and then boot it up. Yep, it dropped it right away. And yep, so we don't have any kind of weird errors. We don't have any credits. Oh, we don't have balls. That's what it is. There's one ball. I don't know what I did with the other ball. Let me grab my ball.
Will be ours.
I love the cards in this game. Okay. Well, so we have a game that's kind of playing now. So let's dig through and see what else we can find. So just here looking in the back box, it's got somebody's removed the batteries, which is great. And doesn't look like there's any corrosion on the board, which is also great. Might check these batteries. By the way, if you're gonna put batteries in like this, it's good to just go ahead and put the date on the batteries. That way people know when they were installed, kind of like writing the date on an oil filter or mileage on your oil filter, same thing. This has all the original caps, I would say. So they're probably due to be changed. I don't know if the owner will want to swap those or not. Maybe I'll talk to him. And so this is one thing for all these Williams System 3 through 11. Those two rectifiers are not fused. So the only way those are fused are from the line into the transformer, which is not a sufficiently small fuse for these. So if either one of these rectifiers blows or shorts, you get really bad things happening, you know, like wires burning up. So I'll put two little fuses over here and fuse each of these. So basically take one of the ACs off each of these, run them over here, and then back to it. Probably shown that in another video, but I'll definitely do that. I'll check all these fuses, make sure they're the right size. They are different sizes, which is a little promising. They're not all 20 amps. But let's look at the other side of the playfield, see what the flippers look like. So the flippers have a fair amount of not extreme, but enough to warrant replacing the plungers. They're also, I'm going to rotate them in this other axis. So I'm just basically looking, so that's rotating this way. So I'm basically seeing how much slop there is in the bushing. So the bushings need to go also. So for these flippers, at a minimum, I'm going to swap out the plungers, the bushings, and I'll probably end up doing the coil stops also, because the new bushing will be flat, and this one will probably be mushroom to match the mushroom shape that probably exists on this one. So do that on the flippers. I know on this one I'm putting in all new pop bumpers, so I'm gonna redo those. The skirts are already chipped, and you know, and I'm gonna do it LED this game. I think I'm gonna tear it down, and I believe the instructions on this was not to touch up anything except for the black line, which will really help a lot. This game's pretty dirty, but I think it's going to clean up pretty well. Games like this, I saw this one here. That one is really lifted. I don't know if I'm going to try to pull that out completely and reglue it, or jam it down and reglue it. Kind of the two options, but it definitely needs to be repaired, because I just jammed it down there temporarily. It will work its way back up the way it was. Oftentimes when they're coming up like that, they're fairly easy to get up the rest of the way, and that's a better thing to do. I definitely don't want to break that. I don't know if these are even available, these big lightning bolts. They might be. But if I take out one, then I gotta end up taking out the other one, because it's not gonna match. In fact, it won't match any of the other red inserts, so I don't want to have to swap this. I don't mind taking it out, but I don't want to have to put in a new one. I think most everything else is working in this game. Haven't gone through the flashers. I saw some of them look pretty burned out. Those two probably aren't working, and that one's not working. The displays are going. I think most everything is working on this game. I guess probably stop this video here until I hear back from the owner about doing anything with the caps. I'll definitely, like I said, I'll take care of those. Put those two fuses in there, and if I find anything interesting, I'll video for you. So I was checking these batteries here with the game off. I measured the voltage across here. This just a lanyard here. It only measured 4.2 volts. I mean, you should have at least 4.5. You really ought to have like 4.8, because these alkaline batteries, assuming these are alkaline, they say 1.5. Okay, so it still should be 4.5. They were basically almost dead. I pulled these out. These things weigh nothing. Like they're empty or partially empty. Some of these knockoff batteries, made in China, they're junky. Uh, it's always never really, it's not optimal ever to have alkaline batteries in the game, even anywhere really. It's okay to have them like this, but yeah, avoid these suckers. So I'll put some new batteries on there, and I do like the fact that they're taped in there, but I'm gonna put a label on there so everybody knows when they were installed. All right, so I swapped these batteries, got them labeled, went ahead and tied them up here with a zip tie just so that thing's not flopping around. Got 4.8 volts here on the board, so that's good. That'll be good at least for a year. I guess next I'll go ahead and get some fuses on this. Okay, so I got these two fuses. So these two rectifiers are now fused. They've got an 8 amps normal blow. So basically you take either one of the AC lines. On this one, they are, well, you look on here, and I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's see if I focus in a little further. So that's the plus. So the other diagonal is going to be minus. So the other two corners are going to be the ACs. Generally, they're the same color, so it's the blue and the blue. So pick one of the blues. This line here was going to that there. I just cut it in two, put a fuse in there, and the red ones, same way. The two red ones are the AC. So that red one there was going up to that top corner, just intercepted it, put the fuse in there, and then going up. So easy peasy, and that'll keep the game from burning up. Probably not the whole game burn up, but seriously, I've seen videos. Joe's Arcade's got one where, I mean, the whole thing just is down to the bare wires. It just melts them. Bad news. I did see this, which is an interesting way to pin. Let me zoom in here. Yeah, it's just kind of, that wire's just kind of wedged in there. So that's going to definitely need a new connector. Somebody's put a new header pin on there, but they didn't mess with new connectors. So anyway, yeah, that's going to need some work. So I'll deal with that when I pull that power supply a little bit later. So I just going through the solenoids, making sure everything's working, and that included the flashers. And I was looking at these flashers. All the flashers are working, even these. I didn't think they would. They kind of look dark, but they're not very flashy. I mean, they're lit, but they ought to be almost blinding to stare at them with your naked eye, and they're not. So you would have to be a little bit careful sometimes. And when you're in just the solenoid test mode, it doesn't give a really hard flash. Even some games, like the pop bumpers, won't fully reset. This is a 67 bulb. So there are several different flashers that have this exact same form factor. So just because it has a 67, so there's 67s, 63s, and 89s. They all look the same. I mean, they'll all fit in the socket and they'll all work, or they'll all light up, but they're all different voltages. So I just got online, looked at the, well, let me go scroll to the manual here. Road Kings, all these flash lamps are supposed to be 63s. And like I said, we've got 67s. So I go over here to Pinball Resources, got them to get the voltages listed. So so this is what we're supposed to have. So it's a 7-volt signal that it's supposed to have. So it should have a 63 for a 7-volt signal, and we've got a 67. So it's looking for 13.5 volts. So it's basically only getting about half the voltage that this thing is looking for. That's why it's so dim. Likewise, if you put them the other way around, if you put in one of these and into a socket that goes into this thing will burn super bright for just a little while and it'll burn up. So you gotta make sure you get the right one. So I'm gonna swap these out. I'm gonna put the right ones in there, the 63s in there, and they'll be a lot flashier. So I don't know how well that's showing up in person. It's much brighter. So this game is, by the way, it's going to get all LEDs, but I'm not going to put LEDs for these flashers. The LED flashers are, like, for me, they're too bright. They also ghost really badly, and for this vintage of game, you've got these warming resistors that basically they pass a little bit of current through these all the time. So when they fire, they're warmed up and ready to go. And you got to cut out the warming resistors. It's just a bunch of a pain in the butt. And then to me, the result is still not as good as a traditional flasher. So my preference is always just to leave them. But we're going to LED the rest of this game. So this is a System 11. On some of these System 11s, they're bad about ghosting. Some of them they're not. So and it's almost game by game. Even the same, like one row kings might ghost much more than another one. So we'll see how many of the ghosting versus non-ghosting bulbs we need on this one. So I'm got this thing, basically I got it put together here. I'll show you what it looks like here in a minute. But I'm working on the flippers at the moment. These particular flippers, that one's over here, is still put together. To get this bushing out, there's bolts here. Oops, I don't know what that was from. There's bolts here. On the back side there's nuts. So you have to take this whole assembly apart so you can get the back side. And there's 3 nuts right there, which is a little bit of pain, but not too bad. Let's just show you the kind of status of the parts. So this is what I was wanting to get out of there. It had a fair amount of play. It's also got a lot of wax up inside of there, so that's got to go. It actually doesn't look too bad. And the plunger itself has little to no, I mean, there's like almost no play. The brand new ones have about the same. So I think basically just swap out this, and I'm gonna probably throw some new flippers on there too, just for cosmetic reasons. They're not broken or anything, but they look like crap. I might throw them in the ultrasonic, see what they look like, keep them for spares for a less desirable game, but I think I'll probably put some new ones on there. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the same thing for this one, put it back together, and then we'll do some test playing. So I got the flippers put back together, new bushings, new coil sleeve in there. I reused the plunger in there. It was fine. Going through here, every time I lifted the playfield up, the plunger would hit the playfield. And generally what that is, usually it's this barrel spring. I already threw the other one out. It was busted, which basically allows this thing to go in too far when this barrel spring is broken. And on these Williams, while you're at it, if you're taking it apart, it's actually got a, it's not a coil sleeve, but it's just like a coil sleeve, except it's a smaller diameter one. You see this one, it's nasty. Goes in the trash. Replace it with the new one, and this thing will be nice and slick. So I'll just put the spring back on there. And I'm gonna need 2 hands. I'll put the washer and the C-clip, and it'll be good to go. So that's all put back together now. So now, when I lower this, it doesn't hit. What happens is when that spring there is busted and broken, and it happens a lot, then that ends up being like that, and the plunger sticks out. And when you try to lay this playfield, it'll actually cut the tip off of those things real easily. So I believe this thing's ready to play. Haven't played the game yet. I went ahead and put these yellow flippers on there. I think I kind of like them. They go well with the black. And it's got a lot of yellows and oranges. I think it looks better than the white. So let's fire this dude up. It looks like it's really flickering. It's actually not. That's just the frame rate of my camera here. Oh, I need to put some balls in here. I've got them sitting over here. Some nice fresh ones.
Standing will be ours.
I guess I'll play a little one-handed here. Wow, it's really crooked
leaning to the left very hard. Let's see if I can shoot her at something. One thing for sure, I cannot play if I am trying to watch through the screen, this screen right here, because it's like half a second behind what reality. See if I can shoot that up. I really just want to get up and there we go. Whoa, that was a little too fast. See if I can get it up in there. So, what's up with that? Well, y'all can see that the ball is sticking. I'm not sure what. I think it's the plastic is, yeah. That plastic is hitting right there. Now that sucks. Well, that's not going to be easy to fix. That it basically, if I yank up on that, so that needs to come out just a little bit. There's really nothing to. Ah, geez. I'm gonna have to take this whole thing off. Trying to think what the best way to handle this. Yeah, it's just that plastic there is a little too low. Might stick a washer right underneath there, but really it's this side is sagging just a little bit. Well, let me work on this a little bit, see what I come up. All right, so I think I got it running well now. So what I did was, so first off, let me say, I have flattened most of the plastics on this game because they get warped from the heat underneath them. I didn't flatten this one because this plastic goes around, it's actually clear there and all here, and it's got the little plastic offset, so I didn't flatten this one, and that edge, it curved down a little bit. So what I did was, I used a heat gun, I heated up just briefly while I was pushing up on the bottom with the screwdriver, and got it to basically flatten it back up. So that took care of it. Got one other issue at least here I want to work on. So you see that ball runs through there nicely. If you watch on this one, I'll show you in a second. This one does not. It's got a huge ball hop. That ball hop just makes it like all but impossible to get a good shot. It's really frustrating. So if you see this piece here, the flipper's jutting out, so when it runs, it just boom and bounces. What happened? This piece here needs to be that way. So I'm going to loosen these threes up and see if I can twist it just a little bit. All right, so I adjusted it. So I pushed this out. So I tried to rotate it in that dimension, and it's better, but it's still got a fair amount of ball hop. You see, it doesn't have as much as it did, but still enough to be annoying. Not really an adjustable piece right here. So the only thing left to do is this rubber here. It's basically just, get rid of that nonsense. It's too thick. So they sell thin rubbers, thin flipper rubbers, just specifically for this issue. So if that rubber's a little bit thinner, then you won't get the ball hop. But it's still got a little bit. The only other, well, I guess so it's hard to, I guess the other way to go about it, I guess, is to fill those holes completely and re-drill a new hole, but it's got to be just slightly up. It's going to be very hard to drill the new hole without it sliding into the old hole that you just filled. So it's really hard to fix this. A better solution is get a thin flipper rubber. So I think I'm done with this for now. think I'll end this video here. Maybe I'll do another one with some gameplay. If you like the video, click like and hit the subscribe button. Adios.